want to kick it over to Max here for a second, but I think before we do that, I want to say two things actually. One, my guess is that there's an expiration on your guy coming to you and crying and saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. I am going through a lot. I don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel. At some point, you are going to get sick of that guy not knowing what he wants out of life and not being able to figure it out. There's a certain expiration date on somebody that can't figure it out and be competent. Women don't. They have some patience for that, but they don't have never-ending patience forever.
Right.
Two, we're getting into this area of this false dichotomy where a guy is either a crying, blubbering, vulnerable mess, or he is a complete shut-in video game playing, angry MFer, basically. We're not talking about what women really want, which is a guy who is not afraid to say, hey, some stuff's going on right now, but guess what? I'm going to handle it. I'm going to take care of it. All is going to be fine. Let's move on to something else. That sweet spot right there in that middle, that's what women want. They don't want a dude that comes crying and says, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to be able to figure it out, and I need you to help me. Because here's the thing, like, women and men don't live on the same planet. You'll never be able to experience the eyes. Go ahead.
What was the second portion of what I was talking about? The first thing was being open and vulnerable and all this stuff and having self-esteem. And then the other part was, well, what do you do when you don't have self-esteem and you are in a low place? And so I talked about having faith in God, and you all ripped me to shreds for this too, but journaling, and not journaling like I went to the grocery store and I got food. Journaling, like, what is my worst feeling that I have and why do I think I feel this way? Exercising daily, like doing all this self-development stuff, which a lot of people, didn't register it the way it was coming out. But, it's okay to be at a low place, be honest and open and vulnerable about it. And when you are in that low place, what are you doing to work on yourself?
So just fix it. Why can't a guy just say, I'm handling it, I'm fixing it, don't worry?
Max, jump in.
Max, what is your take on men being vulnerable? Would you think a guy crying to you is sexy?
I'm not gonna lie. I've had both. I've had the crying venti portion, and then I've had the I'm gonna handle it but not tell him. And I can totally understand where Caroline's coming from, because the one who would be like, I'm handling it, I don't want to talk to you about it, I would feel the frustration. I'm like, well, tell me, like, we're supposed to build a life together. Like, I want to know what you're struggling with, so maybe I can come up with a solution or try to help you. Right. So I can see that point where she's coming from. But for me personally, I can take the crying, the venting only to a certain extent. Right. I had a guy that would cry to me constantly and tell me, like, just complain about life. I'm like, dude, like, you have a job. Like, what are you doing to better yourself? Like, do this, do this. And it wasn't registering for him. And something that I've come to term and realize is that men work on themselves differently than women do. For women, we like to journal, we like to read, and I've tried to push that same tools and elements to, like, my brothers or dudes that I've dated, and they're just like, no, I don't. What's the concept of journaling? Like, what is this? And it's just something that they don't click. So they have their own way. I mean, I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure you guys do, of registering what helps them to deal with what they have going on.
So what about this comment over here? This guy says women don't want a vulnerable man. She wants a man to deal with her vulnerability. You can share yours, but it's all about mine.
I'm going to say no. Yes, I want you to be able to handle me being vulnerable, but something I've also learned in past relationships is it's not always about us. A relationship is 50-50. So if you can vent to your partner about how you're feeling, then he should be able to vent to you. Again, like, when we come venting to our man, we're not telling them, I want you to fix this, I need you to fix this. It's just, I want you to hear me out. I want to vent to you like you're my best friend. And vice versa. That's what I also
they don't really want a solution. They just want us, like, you just want us to listen to you, yeah?
Yeah, just listen to me. Don't tell me how to fix it. Don't tell me.
You know how tough that is for guys, though, because guys are innate problem solvers. Like, we want to fix it.
But listen to this. Listen what you just said. You just said you wanted to try to talk to a guy to see if you can help offer a solution, and yet you don't want him to do that to you. Right.
But
So you're talking about two different people, a man and a woman in a relationship, and how they handle things is completely different. So there's no sort of what's good for me is also good for them. It's
But
Go ahead.
men also want you, like I think you said this, or maybe I saw this somewhere about how men want solutions. And so if like women just want to talk and kind of vent and we deal with the solutions on our own. And if we can get a man to be human again, guys, this is just being human. Like there's nothing embarrassing about this. We are all humans, men and women. We're all going through human experiences and human emotions. And
But they're
when
different. But the
you're
experiences are
building,
completely different, Carolyn. That's the
listen,
point that
but
I'm trying to get across is that you will never experience life through the eyes and the lens of a man. You'll
I
never know what that's like. So
well, I'm
how
not
can
saying
you give advice to a man if you have no idea what it's like to be one?
but it's not, but I'm not talking about what it's like to be a man. I'm talking about what it's like to be a human who's hurting, a human who is suffering, a human who suffers with anxiety and depression and insecurities and fear. That's a human thing. That's not a man and a woman
We
thing.
process them
That's a human
completely
thing.
different. No, because
Yeah.
men and women's brains are completely different, and they process every single emotion differently. We don't process the emotions as men the way that women do. Men are very logical. Women tend to be more on the emotional spectrum.
And
So
that's
what may be depression or what might be anxiety for a woman is completely different how a man views that. It's like when women say, like, how could you not cry at the end of Titanic? You must be inhuman, because they're imposing their own female perspective onto a man who doesn't have the same feelings or doesn't have the same registering of the end of a sad movie or of a romantic story.
I'm not talking about the processing, though. I'm just talking about the general birth of a feeling. And I'm not talking about how either one of us work through it or move through it. I'm just talking about the actual birth of a feeling. So if Mags and I benefit from journaling and being like, why do I feel so unworthy? Why do I not feel valued? Why do I not feel like I know where my place in this world? And if journaling helps us, if meditating helps us, if all these things help us, that's fine. I'm saying that men, and because I'm not a man and I don't know what it is, but men need to cultivate a list of things that will help them and feed this self-esteem and the security and this confidence and this happiness and this movement. You need this motion.
What should be on that list? In your
Progress
opinion,
or
what should be on that list?
someone said it in the comments, progress or regress, and I just love that. I would love to hear from you guys. What I'm sure you've experienced dark times and what you did to dig yourself out of those dark times and to fuel your confidence and your self-esteem and to carry yourself better in life. I think that's what we should be telling the viewers who are suffering and struggling to be confident people and carry themselves well in this world. What can we tell them to help?
I'll speak to that. So I'll speak for men because there's a lot of different things.
Got a whole channel about it.
I mean, my entire channel at Entrepreneurs and Empires is basically me working through shit. There's a time and a place for everything for guys to work through shit. Like there was a time and a place where, things aren't going well in your life. You get on your motorcycle and you go for a rip, and your motorcycle is your therapist, and you don't need to talk to anybody. You just need to burn through a tank of gas and just do what it is that you got to do. There's times where I've gone into a float immersion tank, an isolation chamber, and listened to Viking war chants for an hour. I just sat there and floated in the fucking dark, right? So journaling works too for guys, by the way. So anybody that criticizes, the notion that journaling is useless, doesn't know how to make a concerted effort to sit down and get their thoughts out of their head and then type them out. It doesn't matter if you type it out in a Word doc or an Evernote or wherever it is that you want to stash it. But writing out your thoughts is a therapeutic way of downloading shit that's clogging your wusa, whatever you want to call it. I know women are all like chakra and energy crystals and stuff like that, but for guys, it's like you got to get shit out of your head, and sometimes getting out of your head means just putting pen to paper and writing stuff. So there's any number of ways to do it. I think it's a useful practice for both men and women. So yeah, you're going to get heat for doing a little bit more of the girly stuff when you're having these conversations, Caroline, which is totally fine because
Right.
you're a chick and we want women to be women, sort of thing. But it is a useful practice, so I will say that.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.